First off, I want to begin today's video with a huge thank you to you guys for getting us past 1,000 subscribers. It couldn't be done without any of you, and you really have my gratitude and appreciation. If you haven't seen it already, I put up a new channel update video detailing some of the upcoming information, including a brand new Discord server and some giveaways that will be starting soon. So be sure to like the video to support the channel and subscribe to keep up to date on when these will be taking place. With that said, let's dive right in. Hello Doomers and Doomettes, I'm your host Didi, and with the release of the final part of the Transformers War for Cybertron series finally coming to a close to questionable degrees of quality, and rumors of an appearance in the upcoming Transformers Rise of the Beasts film, we're going to take some time to give an overview to the arch-fiend of the Transformers universe, the monster planet Unicron.
Unicron? Who's Unicron? A planet that devours everything in its path. So that's the monster's name.
Now, the character that would become Unicron was designed by artist Floro Dery for the 1986 Transformers the movie as the primary antagonist. Some of the early concept art referred to him as the Entity or simply Ingester. However, Dery notes that it was the writer who changed the name to Unicron after seeing his design. It's been theorized that Unicron was based off of concept art for a Planet Robot figure in Takara Tomi's Microchange line. However, this is actually incorrect by admission of Floro Dery, who, when shown this design and was asked if it was his inspiration for the character, Dery is quoted in an interview as saying, "No, Unicron is my original concept design. Even the planet transforming into a robot is my original idea. That's why my credit in the movie is original concept designer." However, it is also worth noting that film writer Ron Friedman accredits Unicron's creation to himself.
How much of him was like your ideas, or how much of it was any of Hasbro or any of the powers?
It was all my idea, because I was given write a Transformers feature. That was it. That was my assignment. And so I liked the idea of Unicron because I wanted to create something that was enormous and ever transforming, but transforming by absorbing other life forms, other worlds.
There's a couple of interesting things to note about his original design, aside from the drastic change in colors. If you look at some of the early sketches, Unicron was originally gargantuan, and even by planetary standards, as if you look at the small orbs on his planetary rings, these are noted to be the size of the Earth itself. This would have put Unicron closer in size to planet Jupiter. He was also noted to have a moon, something which would be seen on the Takara Tomy prototype toy for the character, but we'll come back to that later. Unicron was brought to life in the 1986 movie by none other than cinematic legend himself, Orson Welles, where it was actually one of his final film appearances as he passed away in 1985.
I am Unicron.
Show yourself.
I have summoned you here for a purpose.
Welles was actually deeply passionate about the role and very eager to bring the character to life. In absolute excitement for the project, he was even quoted as saying, "You know what I did this morning? I played the voice of a toy. Some terrible robot toys from Japan that changed from one thing to another. The Japanese have funded a full-length animated cartoon about the doings of these toys, which is all bad outer space stuff. I play a planet. I menace somebody called something or other. Then I'm destroyed. My plan to destroy whoever it is thwarted, and I tear myself apart on the screen." Oh dear.
Unicron, answer me! See this? The Matrix! I now possess that which you most fear.
Now, what is it you want? In your depths of your ignorance, what is it you want?
You'll do my bidding, or taste my wrath.
I take directions from one person under protest. Who the hell are you, anyway?
So, let's talk the story. A planet-eating monstrosity, Unicron was given very little backstory in the 1986 film itself, aside from his motivation to destroy the Autobot matrix of leadership because, as he so nicely put it,
It is the one thing, the only thing that can stand in my way.
Unicron proceeds on his quest to destroy the Matrix by converting Decepticon leader Megatron into his herald, renamed him as Galvatron, and sent him to obtain it. Galvatron tries to betray him once he obtains the Matrix, but Unicron grows wise to this and exacts his revenge by attacking their homeworld of Cybertron. The Autobots launch their attack on Unicron, open the Matrix inside of him, and then, as Orson Welles so lovingly put it, Unicron tears himself apart on screen, and his head is left to orbit Cybertron for the remainder of the series. However, not quite dead just yet, Unicron has then made some brief appearances in Season 3 of the cartoon, where he uses the ghost of Starscream to help transfer his mind into the planet Cybertron. Obviously, this fails to work, and Unicron is left alone in orbit once more. In a later Season 3 episode, Call of the Primitives, Unicron was finally given a backstory. It turns out he was the creation of a monkey fish thing who just wanted to create a being capable of destroying the universe, because that's what one does on the weekend. And so, this creature known as Primacron created Unicron to do just that. Unicron, however, inevitably betrayed his master and went on to destroy the universe as he saw fit. The episode also gives us a very vague, implied reason why the Matrix of Leadership was capable of destroying Unicron, showing that Primacron had an unnamed assistant who, when he was killed by Unicron, had his essence turned into the object which would be later known as the Autobot Matrix of Leadership. It's not exactly a strong connection, but it was all that was available for that time. That is, however, until Simon Furman, one of the writers for the UK Transformer comics, wrote a new origin for Unicron. Here, it was proposed that Unicron was an evil god of chaos, bent on domination of the universe. The only thing that stood in his way, however, was a being referred to as Primus, Lord of the Light Gods. Due to his care for life in the universe, Primus was at a disadvantage in this cosmic battle, and so was forced to flee into the astral plane, luring Unicron into it. Once there, Primus tricked Unicron into returning to the physical realm, trapping them both inside asteroids. From here, Unicron and Primus would both reshape their cosmic prisons, with Unicron reshaping his body into his more familiar robotic form, and Primus reshaping his asteroid into the planet of Cybertron. From there, he gave birth to the race of the Transformers, and in addition, he imbued his energy into the Autobot Matrix of Leadership, thus giving it a reason as to why it had the capability to counter the life force of Unicron and destroy it once and for all. Once the cosmic deity backstory came into the picture, the original concept of Unicron being a simple robot creation was thrown out, and the idea of being a chaos god bent on destruction was accepted as the proper backstory. This was later expanded upon to give even more of a cosmic scale backstory, stating that a being known as the One created Unicron and Primus as heralds of exploration in the universe, with Unicron becoming the embodiment of chaos and Primus becoming the embodiment of order. In the kind of power scaling that can only be attributed to American comic books, it was then written that Unicron was a multiverse traversing singularity. This suggested that across all timelines and universes, there was only a single Unicron entity that would devour them, and it was suggested that he destroyed so many realities as he traversed through them that it was no longer possible to keep track of them. As you can probably imagine, this got things very convoluted very quickly, and considering all the times he was written off as killed off for good in each individual series, it eventually took the fun publication Transformer Comics to retcon it, so that each Unicron, as well as any other multiversal singularities in Transformers, would each be their own being. Being the main villain in the original Transformers film, Unicron has then had a vast number of appearances in a variety of Transformers media. Unfortunately, we'd be here for quite some time if I attempted to give the details on every single version, so for now I'm going to briefly touch upon some of the more notable appearances to give you an idea of his roles in the stories. After the Generation 1 cartoon, Unicron had a few cameo appearances in the Beast Wars series in the 1990s, where he was referenced by name, and in the Japanese anime series Beast Wars Neo, he was able to possess the deceased form of Beast Wars Galvatron, enacting a plan where he intended to reforge Cybertron into a new body for himself. Yeah, that's a recurring theme, get used to it. In the original IDW Comics continuity, as its finale, the planet of Antilla was reforged into a super weapon that would become Unicron, remade in the image of its creator, who sought to reap revenge on the Transformers for invading his homeworld and killing his family in the distant past during an age of aggressive expansion for the race. Most recently, Unicron appeared in the Netflix War for Cybertron series. Here, they made the bold choice of reinventing the character as a Windows desktop screensaver, appearing as the final big bad in Kingdom, but only as a still image in his planetary form with a motion blur effect. The two most notable appearances in recent history, however, likely come from the aptly named Unicron trilogy in the mid-2000s and the Transformer Prime series in 2010. The Unicron trilogy consisted of 3 Transformers series: Armada, Energon, and Cybertron, and as the trilogy title would suggest, each series had a large emphasis on the Chaos Bringer. The story of Armada was about the Autobots and Decepticons fighting over a subspecies of Transformers known as Minicons, small robots who had the ability to power up larger robots. While this was seen as a benefit, the Great War broke out as the factions fought over who could catch them all. Look, this was 2002, it was during the peak of the Pokemon craze, okay? Give it a break. As the Autobots and Decepticons fought over who would obtain more Minicons, it was later revealed that the Minicons were a creation of Unicron himself, and he made them so that he would be able to feed off the chaos and destruction brought about in the wars that fought over them. Unicron appeared towards the end of the series as the vast threat to the Autobots and Decepticons, and forced them to work together to fight against him. In the end, Galvatron sacrificed himself so that Unicron would be unable to feed off the conflict between the two factions.
I said cut me loose! No! Farewell, Optimus Prime! Victory is all yours! Now go and look after your men! They need you! Galvatron!
The Energon cartoon saw Unicron in a dormant state for most of the series, with multiple factions attempting to resurrect him for their own desires. This went about as well as you'd expect, especially in a series as repetitive and as long as Energon, where Unicron was able to be rebuilt, destroyed, and resurrected again, only to have Galvatron sacrifice himself once more by taking the mind of Unicron into a sun to be vanquished forever. That is, of course, until the follow-up series of Cybertron, where Unicron didn't necessarily have a direct role per se, but his destruction resulted in the creation of a powerful black hole known as the Unicron Singularity, which put all of our worlds in danger.
To save them and the galaxy, we must find the 4 Cyber Planet keys before the Decepticons can use them for evil.
Unicron's body was reforged in a way to create a new armor for Megatron, appropriately named the Armor of Unicron, which granted Megatron some of the abilities of the Chaos Bringer. In the aligned continuity based around the 2010 Prime series, Unicron fought with his brother Primus for eons in the distant past, locked in combat, and the tide of battle was only changed when Primus created the first 13 Transformers, immensely powerful demigods who worked together to bring the downfall of Unicron. Unfortunately, the 13 are very complicated in their own right, and have enough content that would likely merit their own video. All that matters in this case was that Unicron was defeated by them, and his broken body drifted in space for ages. That is, of course, until it fell into the orbit of a star, where matter gathered around it, and this lump of space rock eventually developed into planet Earth, with Unicron at its very core. Unicron became relevant in Prime when Megatron sought after a rare substance known as Dark Energon, referred to as the lifeblood of Unicron himself, with abilities like resurrecting the dead. As any warlord would, Megatron sought to obtain more of this to create an army, only to discover the blood of Unicron flowed from Earth itself. After a planetary alignment, Unicron was eventually able to stir up from his slumber, and walked on Earth with avatars made from matter of the planet. Typical for Transformers, he posed such a threat that Optimus Prime and Megatron had to team up once again to put an end to the menace, with Optimus Prime unleashing the power of the Matrix, laying him to rest once more. That is, until Megatron was killed in the series, and Unicron was able to possess and reshape his body into a new form in an attempt to vanquish the planet Cybertron. One final battle in the series ensued, ending with the Dark God being caught in a Pokeball, ending with Optimus Prime sealing Unicron's spark inside the vessel of the relic known as the Allspark.
As a being comprised of pure energy, Unicron's anti-spark was vulnerable to this reliquary of the Primes.
The concept of Earth actually being Unicron himself was reused from the Prime cartoon into the 5th live-action film, The Last Night, where his horns were seen emerging from the planet, implying his day of awakening may not be too far off. Although with the continuation of the base series being up in the air, it's unsure how this plot thread will develop. It's been rumored that this plot element may continue in Rise of the Beasts, but unfortunately at this time we don't know for sure just yet. Despite such a high number of media appearances, you may be surprised to know that Unicron's toy appearances actually are not as plentiful. He was designed to have a toy released alongside the 1986 film, at first based on original concept art art which even included that moon as an accessory. This later developed into a figure complete with a voice changer accessory, but the figure was regrettably cancelled for unknown reasons. That didn't stop Takara Tomy, however, who tried once again for a new version of the character when the Beast Wars Neo anime was airing, complete with moving claws, a planetary attack mode, and even an articulated robot mouth that opened when the head was squeezed. However, just like the first attempt, this too was cancelled for unknown reasons. It wasn't until the Transformers Armada toy line in 2003 that Unicron finally was able to make his plastic debut. Funnily enough, the advertisement for the figure featured animation used in the original Transformers movie, signifying its importance as the first version of one of the most feared characters in the franchise. One of the first Supreme class figures, and one of the earlier examples of modern large-scale Transformers, Armada Unicron was quite a popular figure, so much so that the figure was redecoed and re-released constantly and for over a decade, with countless more figures having had their parts smashed and broken up for custom figures over that time frame. The Doomer Den remembers the Unicrons used in custom figures. Please, stop the abuse. After this, there were a handful of smaller figures as well as merchandise released, but nothing truly Titan-sized, as the Armada mold was still being reused. That was until 2019, when the Kickstarter-esque HasLab campaign kicked off, revealing a brand new Unicron for the War for Cybertron line. This figure had quite a bit of controversy around it, as it is to date the most expensive Hasbro Transformer and the most expensive HasLab project produced. With a lot of fans disappointed in this, amongst other things such as the paint deco and the fact that he's essentially the largest shell former ever made, this figure actually very nearly missed its funding goal and had to have the backing period extended in order to ensure its production, even then being theorized by some that the numbers may have been slightly pumped to avoid the embarrassment of a second failed campaign. Don't worry, Cookie Monster, we will never forget. It's reported that only about 12,000 of these are in circulation and right now fetch extraordinarily high prices on the aftermarket, of course due to their limited run. The character is in a unique position that, although he is prominent in many series, figures of Unicron are usually treated as a special event and have a great deal of things surrounding them. It would be nice if Hasbro experimented a bit more and perhaps offered more smaller, affordable versions of the character. And with his recent appearance in the Netflix series, as well as his rumored role in the upcoming Rise of the Beast film, who knows how we may see the mighty Chaos God next? Who knows? With rumors of the next line being the multiverse of the Transformers, maybe we'll see some love for the Unicron trilogy now. Right?
You serious?
If you made it to the end here, thank you so much for watching. Unicron is such a large topic. I tried to fit as much as I could into this one video without going overboard, but it still certainly feels like there's a lot more left to cover. Do you think I should do a sequel to this? What's your favorite version of Unicron? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more, I would really appreciate if you would hit that subscribe button and click on that bell to be notified of future uploads. And don't forget, we do have a Discord now, so be sure to check that out in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I can see you next time.